It's funny. Usually when we talk about a major financial transaction, there is this like expectation of precision. It's almost like engineering, you know?
Right. Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
if you go out to buy a business, the accountants open up the books, they show you the profit and loss statements, and the business broker literally points to the bottom line and tells you exactly what you are getting.
Oh, absolutely. Because the data is binary in those situations. You can see the cash flow, you can see the inventory. It is all quantified right there in front of you.
Right. It is incredibly clean. But then you step into the world of residential real estate, and suddenly all that precision just completely vanishes.
Oh, it goes right out the window.
Exactly. We are looking at a transactional landscape that is, honestly, it's completely murky. I mean, for most people, selling a house involves putting a sign in the yard, attaching a little metal box to the door, and then just sitting back and, well, hoping for the best.
Yeah, it is the absolute definition of diagnostic muddy waters. And when you think about the fact that this is often the largest single financial decision of a person's entire life, that lack of structure is actually pretty staggering.
It really is.
You are essentially leaving hundreds of thousands of dollars up to chance and, foot traffic.
And that is exactly what we are unpacking today. So welcome to the deep dive. We are taking you behind the curtain of the residential real estate market to look at the hidden reasons why homes sit on the market and just fail to sell, even when the market is incredibly hot.
Right, which happens way more often than people think.
Totally. And more importantly, we're going to look at a completely different approach that aims to fix this broken system. Because to explore this, we are pulling from a couple of really detailed sources today.
Yeah, we've got some great material to go through.
We do. We've got insights from a comprehensive real estate book by MJ Smoke, alongside materials detailing the Listing Advantage service, which is a specialized strategy developed by Associated Realty Partners, LLC.
And our mission here is really to figure out why that traditional passive listing model is failing sellers, and how a highly structured open house strategy basically changes the game entirely.
Right. We're going to look at how this specific approach makes homes more convenient to show, easier for buyers to access, flawlessly prepared, and just, primed for intense competition.
Because the failure of a home to sell is rarely about the house itself. I mean, that is the big secret here. It is almost always about the deeply flawed system that the house was placed into.
Yeah. So whether you are getting ready to sell or maybe recovering from a listing that went nowhere, or you're just fascinated by the psychology of high stakes negotiations, you are going to walk away from this looking at the real estate market completely differently.
Definitely. But before we can really appreciate why this new strategy is so disruptive, we have to look closely at the old way. We have to diagnose the traditional listing model.
Right. The old faithful method.
Yeah, which relies on an assumption that just doesn't hold up in the modern era. They call it the silent failure.
The silent failure. I like that term. And if you've ever sold a house, you definitely know this routine. The agent takes some photos, the home goes up on the MLS, the multiple listing service, the database all the agents use.
Right, the big database.
Yeah, and then a lockbox gets slapped on the front door handle.
Yeah.
And then crickets. I mean, the listing agent basically just waits for the phone to ring.
Exactly. Because it's a volume-based business model, the entire industry kind of shifted toward this idea of probability rather than preparation.
Interesting. Probability over preparation.
Yeah, the prevailing thought is that, well, if you throw the listing onto enough websites, eventually someone will scroll past it, tolerate the uncertainty of the whole process, and just make an offer.
But when you play the probability game and you lose, the dynamic gets really uncomfortable really fast. The blame immediately shifts away from the strategy, right?
No, always.
The agent might come back to the seller and say, well, the market shifted this month. Or buyers are getting cautious with interest rates. Or the most painful one.
The price is too high.
Yes. The price is too high, we need to reduce.
And price reductions are incredibly damaging, not just to a seller's wallet, but to their psychology. I mean, a buyer rarely looks at a price reduction and thinks, oh, how generous of the seller.
Right. No one thinks that.
No. They look at a price drop and think, okay, they are getting desperate. Or worse, what is wrong with this house that nobody else wanted it?
Oh, yeah. The stigma is real.
It is. So the seller ends up paying twice in this scenario. They pay the agent's commission, and they pay the massive discount required to overcome the buyer's doubt.
Which brings us back to that little metal box on the door. Let's really think about the lockbox system, because this is the cornerstone of the traditional model. It feels a bit like handing the keys to a rental car agent who has never even seen the car.
Right.
and just crossing your fingers that
Yeah.
they can convince a Formula One driver to buy it.
That analogy actually captures the absurdity of it perfectly. Because think about what happens during a lockbox showing. The listing agent, the actual person hired to sell the home, is entirely absent.
They aren't even there.
No. The showing is conducted by the buyer's agent. And now that buyer's agent is probably driving their client around to like 5 or 6 different homes in a single afternoon.
Oh, yeah, they're exhausted.
They are totally exhausted. They are on a tight schedule and they rush the buyers through your house in maybe 15 minutes.
And they don't know anything about the house. Say, a buyer might point to the ceiling and say, is that a water stain? And the agent just shrugs because they don't know the roof was replaced last year, and it's just an old paint mark.
Exactly. They certainly haven't arrived 30 minutes early to turn on all the lights or, adjust the thermostat and open the blinds to show off the view.
So the home's best features are just completely missed.
Completely. The buyer is walking through a dark, unguided house with an agent who is frantically checking their GPS for the next appointment.
I can see how that's a terrible experience, but okay, I have to play devil's advocate here for a second.
Go for it.
Isn't the whole point of a lockbox maximum exposure?
Yeah.
I mean, the industry always pushes this idea that granting access 24/7 to any buyer's agent increases the chances of getting a buyer through the door.
Well, yeah, that is the pitch. But the reality of consumer psychology is very different. Exposure without clarity actually destroys value.
Wait, destroys value. How so?
Well, buyers today do not lack access to homes. I mean, they can see every single listing in their zip code on their smartphone the second it hits the market. What they lack is confidence.
Okay, confidence in what way? Like confidence in the market.
Confidence in what they are actually buying. When a buyer is rushed through that dark, unguided house and they can't get immediate answers about, say, the age of the AC unit or the condition of the foundation, it breeds uncertainty.
Right.
And in high-stakes transactions, uncertainty kills deals. When buyers feel uncertain, they do one of two things. They either walk away entirely or they submit a severe low-ball offer to financially protect themselves from whatever unknown problems might be lurking.
Wow, okay, so the lockbox system is fundamentally creating chaotic, weak showings. Which means the solution isn't just taking the lockbox off the door, it's completely rethinking how buyers experience the property.
Exactly. And this brings us to the core of the Listing Advantage Service open house strategy. Instead of scattered lockbox showings, you move to a highly structured schedule.
You are replacing passive availability with structured convenience. And that shift, it changes the experience for everyone involved.
It really does.
Let's start with the seller's sanity, honestly.
Yeah.
Because anyone who has lived in a house while it's on the market knows it is an absolute nightmare.
Oh, it's the worst.
You get a text message at like 1 o'clock on a Tuesday saying someone wants to see the house at 2 o'clock. You panic, you shove all the laundry under the bed, you wrangle the dog into the car, and you go sit in a coffee shop parking lot for an hour.
Right, and that constant disruption causes what the industry calls showing fatigue. Sellers get so exhausted by the daily panic drills that they actually end up accepting lower offers just to make the process stop.
Wow. Just to get their life back.
Exactly. But the structured strategy completely eliminates that. Showings are concentrated into designated, predictable times.
So instead of random Tuesday interruptions, you might agree to show the home for, say, 3 hours on a Saturday, 3 hours on a Sunday, and maybe one specific weekday evening window.
Yes, you get your life back. You know exactly when you need to prep the home, and you live normally the rest of the week.
But okay, if we restrict the hours, doesn't that make it harder for the buyer? I mean, convenience for the seller is great, but we still need buyers to actually show up.
It actually makes it significantly easier for the buyer, believe it or not, because you remove the friction of coordination.
Oh, like the phone tag.
Exactly. Think about the old way a buyer sees a house online. They call their agent. Their agent checks their own schedule. Then the buyer's agent calls the listing agent to check availability. They go back and forth, playing phone tag, trying to align 3 different schedules.
Yeah, that's a mess.
It delays access, and sometimes buyers just give up and look at something else.
Right. Whereas with a published, reliable schedule, the house is just open. You don't need to coordinate anything. You just show up between 1 and 4 on Saturday.
Furthermore, this public accessibility opens the door to entire demographics of buyers who might otherwise skip the property entirely.
Like who?
Well, you have unrepresented buyers who don't want to sign a binding contract with a buyer's agent just to go look at a living room.
Oh, that's a good point.
And you also have buyers who actively prefer dealing directly with the listing agent. In some cases, depending on local regulations, working directly with the listing agent can create efficiencies that might actually reduce costs for the buyer, the seller, or both.
Which a private lockbox completely shuts out.
Exactly. A private lockbox shuts those people out. A public, structured open house invites them in.
And from the listing agent's perspective, this structure allows them to actually do their job, right?
Hmm.
Because they know exactly when people are arriving so they can control the environment.
Yes, the preparation can be flawless. The listing agent arrives an hour early. They turn on every light. They open the curtains to maximize natural light.
They can actually stage it.
Right. They ensure the staging is perfect, the temperature is comfortable, and the marketing materials are perfectly placed. They elevate the property from feeling like a quick, awkward walkthrough into a premium curated presentation.
Which all sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the bottom line here. Does making a buyer wait until Saturday afternoon actually makes them want the house more? Or does it just annoy them?
It absolutely makes them want it more because it fundamentally changes the power dynamic in the room.
How so?
Well, when you use a lockbox, buyers trickle in one by one over the course of a week. A buyer walks through an empty, quiet house, and their subconscious assumes that demand is low. They think they have all the time in the world to make a decision.
Ah, right. But when you funnel all of those buyers into the same 3-hour window,
You transform a scattered trickle into a concentrated event. You are setting the stage for the most powerful psychological trigger in any negotiation.
visible competition.
Visible competition, exactly.
You are engineering FOMO, the fear of missing out.
Visually and audibly. I mean, a buyer is standing in the kitchen, opening the cabinets, and they can hear another couple in the living room talking about where they're going to put their sofa.
Oh man, that would stress me out as a buyer.
Right. They see someone else measuring the master bedroom.
That completely flips the script.
Yeah.
If I'm that buyer, I'm no longer thinking about how to lowball the seller to protect my downside.
Hmm.
I'm suddenly realizing that if I want this house, I have to beat the couple in the living room.
Because the demand is no longer theoretical. The agent doesn't have to say, oh, we have a lot of interest. The interest is standing right next to the buyer in the hallway.
That is so powerful.
It creates urgency and it drives stronger, faster, and much more competitive offers.
But, you can't just pack a house with people and expect a bidding war, right? I mean, I might want the house because everyone else wants it, but I'm still making a massive financial commitment. If I'm terrified the roof is going to cave in, a crowd of people isn't going to make me write a check.
And that is a crucial distinction. FOMO alone is a spark, but it isn't the fuel. Buyers still need to feel incredibly safe. And this is where the listing advantage service really distances itself from a standard open house.
Yeah, the source material really emphasized this.
They mandate an information-rich environment. Visitors aren't just wandering around aimlessly.
They are being guided.
The listing agent is there as the dedicated expert on that specific property. They are equipped to answer every single question in real time, overcoming objections before the buyer even leaves the driveway.
And they don't even leave it all up to conversation, which I found totally fascinating in the material. They use a tactic of prominent physical labeling throughout the home.
Yes, the labeling is key.
So you don't just walk into the backyard and see a loud metal box humming away. You see a professional label on it that says 14 SEER, high performance, dual speed, energy saving air conditioner.
Let's break down why that matters, actually. SEER stands for Seasonal Energy Efficiency Ratio. A standard buyer doesn't know what a 14 SEER rating means by just looking at the compressor.
Right, it's just a metal box to them.
Exactly. But when you label it as high performance and energy saving, you instantly translate a piece of metal into financial value.
And they do this everywhere. A label on the windows noting they are hurricane rated, impact resistant, a sign by the pool identifying the energy-saving variable speed pool pump. I love this approach.
It changes everything.
It's like the difference between wandering around an empty museum reading tiny, confusing placards versus having an expert curator walk you and a crowd of excited VIPs through the gallery, explaining exactly why the art is so valuable.
That's a great way to look at it. The perception shifts instantly. In the old model, a buyer looks at a water heater and their anxiety spikes. They wonder, is that going to break next month? How much will that cost?
Yeah, instant stress.
But in this structured model, they see a label that says 80-gallon energy-saving solar water heater installed in 2024, and that anxiety just vanishes.
Which brings us to what I consider the ultimate anxiety killer. I mean, pointing out a great AC unit or a new water heater is one thing, but how does this strategy overcome The really deep structural fears.
The big stuff.
Yeah, the terror of hidden termite damage or bad roof, or the fear that the home won't appraise and the financing will just fall through.
By turning the open house into an absolute fortress of documentation, this is an arsenal of transparency because buyers aren't just afraid of the physical house, they are terrified of the transaction itself.
That makes a lot of sense.
They want to know they aren't going to get burned 3 weeks later during the inspection period.
And the document checklist that the Listing Advantage Service provides at these events is staggering. It is explicitly designed to build immediate buyer trust.
Oh, it covers everything.
We are talking about having the seller's property condition disclosure sitting right there on the kitchen counter. If the home is in an HOA, a homeowners association, or a CDD, which is a community development district that adds fees to your tax bill, all those rules, bylaws, and fee structures are totally accessible upfront.
They don't hide the carrying costs at all. They provide a detailed feature list with the exact ages of all major systems, and they include survey information if it's available, so buyers know exactly where the property lines are.
And let's talk about the insurance side, because depending on where you live, getting homeowners insurance right now can be a nightmare.
Oh, it is a major hurdle right now. So this strategy includes providing 4-point and wind mitigation reports right at the open house.
Just for context, for those who haven't bought recently, a 4-point inspection covers the 4 main systems: the roof, the electrical, the plumbing, and the HVAC. It's what the insurance companies demand to see.
Exactly. But they don't just hand the buyer the technical reports. They provide the resulting home insurance estimates based on those exact reports.
That is brilliant.
A buyer can walk in, look at the packet, and know down to the dollar what their insurance premium is likely to be. No sticker shock a month later.
They also provide transferable warranties, repair and maintenance receipts, utility bills, and service contracts. They even include lender contact information and details on specialized financing options,
Which is so helpful for buyers.
like down payment assistance programs or buy before you sell bridge loans, or even a HECM, a home equity conversion mortgage, which is essentially a reverse mortgage for buyers over the age of 62.
It is entirely comprehensive. It is designed to address every possible objection and financing hurdle before the buyer even has a chance to articulate it.
But, okay, I have to push back on one specific thing in this document pile because it seems completely counterintuitive to me.
All right, what is it?
The source material says they provide contractor bids for possible upgrades. Wait, if my kitchen is outdated, why would I hand a buyer a stack of paperwork pointing out exactly what needs fixing and how much it will cost? Doesn't highlighting the flaws scare them away? Shouldn't we just let them fall in love with the backyard and hope they ignore the kitchen?
It sounds totally counterintuitive, I know, but it comes down to a fundamental psychological truth in real estate buyers are far more willing to accept known issues than unknown ones.
I'm going to need you to unpack that because that is wild to me.
Let's play out your kitchen scenario. A buyer walks into an outdated kitchen. Their imagination immediately runs wild. They don't know anything about construction costs, right?
Right.
So they mentally deduct $50,000 from their offer because they assume renovations are impossibly expensive and complicated. The unknown is always worse than reality.
Oh, wow. Okay, I see where this is going.
Right. But if you have already had a contractor come in and you hand that buyer a professional bid showing that new cabinets and countertops will actually cost $25,000, you have just saved yourself $25,000 in perceived value.
You cap their anxiety. You put a hard ceiling on their fear.
Precisely. And you can even pair that bid with financing options for renovations. Providing all this upfront doesn't highlight the flaws, it proves there are no hidden landmines. It builds an immense amount of trust.
That's amazing.
It protects the value of the home and prevents deals from collapsing weeks later when a buyer's inspector inevitably finds a surprise.
Because if a deal falls apart after 3 weeks, your home goes back on the market, and suddenly it has a massive stigma attached to it. The days on market tick up, everyone wonders what's wrong with the house, and your leverage as a seller is totally gone.
Exactly. The listing advantage service strategy pulls all of that late-stage risk to the very front of the process. It eliminates deferred uncertainty. They even provide professional pre-listing appraisals with comparable sales. By presenting all of this alongside peace-of-mind transferable warranties, like coverage for the roof, foundation, or appliances you are communicating to the buyer, this is a safe, transparent investment.
And when a buyer feels fundamentally safe, and they are surrounded by other interested buyers at a structured, highly curated open house event, they do not submit a lowball offer.
They compete. Competition drives the price up, and the heavy documentation ensures that the high price will actually survive the underwriting process and make it to the closing table.
So bringing this all together, what does this mean for you? Whether you are gearing up to sell your home or you are recovering from a listing that just expired without a sale, you now know that a successful high-value transaction is not about luck.
Not at all.
It is not about hoping the algorithm or the market does the heavy lifting for you.
It is about proactive preparation, radical transparency, and an engineered structure. By maximizing access through a published schedule, improving the presentation, and building buyer trust, you completely change the dynamic of the sale.
You stop treating the sale of your biggest financial asset like a lottery ticket. I mean, you wouldn't buy a business based on a feeling and a blurry photograph. You would demand precision. So you have to refuse to step into the muddy waters of the passive listing model.
You have to demand a process that respects the gravity of the transaction.
Which leaves us with one final, incredibly important thought to mull over. You can do the brilliant marketing, you can stage a home perfectly, you can generate all the FOMO in the world and get the buyer to fall deeply in love with the property. But at the end of the day, the only opinion of your home's value that ultimately matters is the buyer's lender's appraiser.
Yep.
If your real estate strategy doesn't start by securing and validating that number first with deep documentation, are you actually selling your home or are you just testing your luck?
That is the multi-$100,000 question every seller needs to answer.
This podcast was based on material from Listing Advantage Service, a seller-focused strategy developed by Associated Realty Partners, LLC.
If your home failed to sell, visit listingadvantageservice.com to access their failed listing analysis to reveal why that might have happened.
Alternatively, if you're preparing to list your home, visit listingadvantage.com to access a free educational ebook titled Listing Your Home for a Successful Sale.
Even if you never work with Associated Realty Partners, you'll walk away better prepared and more in control of the process when you list your home for sale again.
You know, it's funny. Usually when we talk about a major financial transaction, there is this expectation